was this kid, Jeff Horn. And Lonigan wouldn't stop. You gotta watch this kid, he's so good, you know. But I hear that all the time. And he fought this really tough African fighter named Ali Fenech, and who I'd heard about, and he gave a tremendous performance. Horn got knocked down once, got up, and destroyed Fenech. So I said to Lonigan, I said, the guy is really, really good. And Dean said, well, why don't we have him fight Manny Pacquiao in Brisbane? I said, you're out of your mind. You're not going to be able to afford Manny Pacquiao because Manny, God love him, has so many charitable projects in the Philippines. You got to pay him a lot of money to fight. And thanks to Dean, Kate Jones, Minister of Tourism, to your Lord Mayor, to the Brisbane business community, funds were raised to make this fight happen. And this fight, believe me, is going to go down in history. It's being televised in the United States by ESPN, the first of a series of fights that are going to be shown by ESPN all over the United States and throughout the world. A series that will change boxing, and it will, when the history is written, people will say it started here in Brisbane on July 2nd.
And just finally, I must hear you must let the people here know your views about Pacquiao, not the politician or the boxer, Pacquiao the philanthropist, Pacquiao who gives away millions of dollars.
I mean, the truth is, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I mean, I would get calls all hours from Manny, could I advance him $2 million US on his next purse? And I would ask why, and it'll say, you'll see. And it ended up, he built in his province, in Mindanao province in the Philippines, 1,000 homes. Well, small homes, but had plumbing indoors. And he gave away the homes to the poor people who were living in shacks in that area. Now, for somebody to do that, in the Philippines, there's a knock on politicians, or maybe rightly so, and maybe it's not just the Philippines, that they enrich themselves once they get elected to office. But Manny Pacquiao, it's the other way. Manny Pacquiao gives of himself. I mean, such incredible things. There's a fishing village near where he lives in General Santos. And the fishermen took 3 to 4 hours to row out to the waters where they could catch fish, and 3 or 4 hours to come back. As a result, they had very little time to fish, or they were out, for these crazy hours. Manny Pacquiao bought outboard motors for every one of those boats and gave those fishermen those outboard boat motors free as a charitable contribution. And it changed all of those people's lives, because now they could get out in about an hour and a half to the fishing waters and back in an hour and a half, do their fishing and live a wonderful life. So Manny Pacquiao truly is into changing people's lives. And whether you're gonna root on Sunday, as you should, for Jeff Horn, who's a lovely young man, I just want you to know what a special person Manny Pacquiao is.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Well, the man next to Bob is Colonel Bob Sheridan. He is the greatest boxing broadcaster in the world. Can you believe he's broadcast more than 10,000 fights? So Bob, it's wonderful to have you here. Tell us about 1974 and the Rumble in the Jungle.
was, of course, extraordinary as a young broadcaster at the time, but I had done an awful lot of world title fights even prior to that. But to be in Africa, and the fight had been postponed one time, and I was still doing football at that time, so I left Trier, Germany, went back, and then 4 weeks later came out to do that fight. And a couple of things that were extraordinary there was that Muhammad Ali had everybody convinced in equatorial Africa, where you didn't see a white face, that George Foreman was a white man. I remember that distinctly. Ali was so popular. It was, I'll tell you one quick story that's, you know, had nothing to do with boxing, but when we were doing the weigh-in, it was on a Saturday night to hook up with television, ABC Sports in the United States. And the video went out, and they had the audio, and they were going to cancel the weigh-in. This was the last time that they had the opportunity to sell and put people's bodies in seats back in the United States. It was very, very important. And what we found out, what happened later on, was that these fellas that were in the satellite station just hit a toggle switch and shut down the satellite so they could listen to it. They never saw color television. They never saw any television before in their life, but they were working in the production area. When President Mobutu heard about that, he ordered the guy executed. And Hank Schwartz, who was the producer at that time, said, "This is serious, but not that serious." The long and the short of it was, they got the thing back up, and we did the weigh-in, and that's just one story that's away from the boxing side of it.
Mobutu was pretty good at executing people, wasn't he? I mean, tell us the temperature they got.
He was. It was funny because, you know, I was like a no-name broadcaster. I just happened to have called a ton of fights at that stage because I worked for Chris and Angela Dundee, and I did about 10 fights a week for already about 10 years before this fight came up, and ended up doing the international commentary for that fight. And because of the position I had, I was invited to Mobutu's palace. And it was very funny because from the airport to Mobutu's palace, it was a 4-lane highway, perfectly paved and everything else, but from the airport back into Kinshasa, which was the main city, was a 2-lane dirt road. So that's the kind of power that Mobutu had. The other thing is, I had a chauffeur-driven limousine and 2 machine gun guards for the whole time I was there. Don't forget, I'm a young guy, and nobody to show off to. It was terrible for me.
Just a quick one, 20 years on, I mean, you were calling the Tyson-Holyfield fight in Las Vegas, and what happened the night before the fight? You had a heart attack, and you still broadcast the fight.
Yeah, but that was my 4th heart attack, and I get heart attacks like some people get the flu. So I go in, I've had 7 now, but and counting. Anyway, that night I was in the hospital, and I had this bodyguard, this guy from Mexico, Pancho, is 7 feet tall. We call him the largest Mexican in captivity. And so Pancho told the surgeon, he said, "Dr. Singh, the colonel's going to broadcast this fight." And everybody says, "Oh, how brave he was," and everything else. Well, first off, I think, Bob, you could probably attest to this, and a couple other people up here. When you have an angioplasty, and immediately you can breathe again. So you feel great. And I would have been more apt to have a heart attack if I missed calling that fight than had I stayed in the hospital. So there was no brave, I'm not a brave guy. I just love boxing. So I went, I did the fight, the surgeon came with me, and I called the fight, and of course it was the ear-biting fight, and it couldn't have been more of an exciting situation. As soon as the fight was over, back in the ambulance, back to the hospital, another angioplasty. I remember that fight for a different reason than the ear bite.
The greatest commentator,
Any implication that I had an angioplasty or ever had anything wrong with my heart is absolutely not true. I come from a genetic strain that never has, thank God, a heart.
I'm glad to hear that, Bob. I know you had your knee down, and I'm looking forward to that too.
Well done. Now let's go to Michael. I mean, this is the golden voice of boxing. And the 5-word catchphrase. Now, I'll ask him again, because I've asked him before, if he'll give it to us, and I'm certain he won't. Let's get ready to rumble. How do you say it? Come on, Michael. Come on. Come on, Michael. There's the mic.
You want to hear it? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, from Brisbane, Australia, let's get ready to rumble! I've got one more left. for me for the next show.
Just on the history of that, just explain to the people here the history of it, because you tried a lot of sort of phrases and they didn't work.
The reason I came up with that phrase was because somewhere along the line, ring announcers were all local guys that would always introduce the entire boxing commission before the main event. So, you know, in today's world of boxing over the last 35, 40 years, the fighters come to the ring, there's all this music, electricity, that we've been waiting through the 8 undercard fights, and everybody's excited, and then the ring announcers would introduce the boxing commission, the chairman, the supervisors, the 4 doctors, 3 judges, the referee, the WBC, the WBA, the venue, and you've killed all the electricity in the audience at that time. It just, the room has gone flat. So I wanted something that would be comparable to in auto racing when they say, gentlemen, start your engines. Man, everybody knows the race is going to begin. And to me, the fighters are the stars of the show, so I wanted a hook to have their introductions, you know, people wake up and pay attention to the stars of the show. And I tried, you know, fasten your seatbelts and man your battle station, everything fell flat. But the great Muhammad Ali used to always, he was just great at press conferences and at weigh-ins, and he would say, oh, I'm so pretty, my weight's down to 214, I'm looking good. Oh, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. And that phrase stayed with me. There was the rumble in the jungle, the word was there, so I started to say, let's get ready to rumble, and fine-tuned it to what you hear today.
There you are, that's what you're going to hear at the week. Fantastic stuff. Hey, how good are they? Well, here's our own man now. Here is Jeffrey Fenech. Hey, good to have you here. Good to have you here. What's going to happen, Jeffrey, on Sunday?
I think we're going to have a new Australian world champion. I think, to all you people that are here supporting, man, I know how important it is. It was so important for me as a young fighter and coming through the ranks. I had Granley Keys supporting me, and I know he's doing the same with Jeff Horn, but without you people, we mean nothing. So I know Jeff's a humble young guy, and he's so honoured that everybody's here supporting him. So I just love him. I love what he represents. He's never taken a shortcut. He fights everybody, and we're going to get ready for a huge upset on Sunday lunchtime.
And Jeffrey, I know you're enjoying yourself today and having a wonderful time. If someone walked up to you in the room here, in the ballroom, and said 2 words and a date, if they said Azuma Nilsson, 1991, and then out of Las Vegas, what would you say? Come on.
I just think that life's an amazing journey for me, and people talk about my record, and I say I've never lost a fight anymore, because I just think I learned from them all. And Azuma Nilsson was an amazing athlete who went home, studied everything I'd done in the first fight, and come back and beat me like he said he would. And you know, I never made an excuse for losing any fight, but he's a great fighter, and I just, like I said, it's an amazing thing when you get on and you sit down and you can say that you learn from those experiences. I did, I'm so appreciative to just be able to fight the greatest in the world.
The man next to the Jeffrey is a veritable
Oh no. What the hell? Quickly, get him picked up.
Hey guys. Because of how hard it punches. People don't understand how hard it is.
Are you feeling, Manny?
Good.
Far away. Manny, what?
And the second question is,
today, just say hello to the VIPs who support this event. How are you doing? No, to just thanking them for supporting this event on Sunday.
Do you have any pre-fight rituals that you're going through in the next few days?
No, I just wait for more for the win.
What's your prediction, Manny?
I don't have prediction, but I did my best for this fight. I did my best in training. It's going to be a good fight.
Thank you all very much. We've got to go inside now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Greatest fights, perhaps the greatest of Roberto's career, was against the WBC welterweight champion Sugar Ray Leonard in Montreal in 1980. Now, Leonard was undefeated, an Olympic gold medalist. He was getting paid 5 times as much as Roberto. He was considered unbeatable, and Roberto won in 15 rounds. How does he remember that? Before we get that answer, here he is, the man. Please welcome him. Mr. Manny Pacquiao. Hey. Yeah, that's it. We might give him your mic, Bob. Well, welcome, man. He's got to go, but he just wants to have a word or two to everybody there. And a senator from the Philippines, an extraordinary, one of the greatest all-time boxers, perhaps the best pound-for-pound boxer we've ever seen, Manny.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for supporting this event, and also thank to Bob Arum, Top Rank, and Dean Lonergan for promoting this bout on Sunday. And of course, thank you for coming. This boxer is my one of my favorite boxer before. When I started boxing, Roberto Duran, of course, Fenech. I met him a long time ago. Of course, my friend Timothy Bradley, and his I don't know the other name of the people here, but thank you to all of you who are supporting this event on Sunday, and to all of you, thank you so much for giving us opportunity to entertain you on Sunday. I'm sure me and Jeff will give you a good fight, and you will enjoy it. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone.
I just asked that question of Roberto because it is relevant to Sunday, of course, in what some might see, or the punters might see, as a certain victory for one of the boxers, but certainly Roberto, against all the odds, won that fight. Just a comment from him on that.
When he was in Panama, his manager called him and he said, there is a boxer that it's so important in the US, he was the king in the US, he was the best boxer in the time. He said if he wanted to fight against him for the world championship of him, that he was the best that was over there. He said yes, why not?
Why not?
And he started training so hard. He started studying him and his look. And he realized that he had a lot of respect. And he started to train at his same speed. He won because he was more intelligent than him. And he didn't let him punch him. And that's why he won. Because of the knowledge. And because he took the speed that he had.
Well done. Well, Jeffrey, I think the best part of the answer was Roberto said, why not? and why can't I win? And I know we'll talk to Jeffrey shortly. Next to him is the 22-year-old from New Zealand, a world champion on the vacant WBO heavyweight title with Andy Ruiz, Joseph Parker. Joseph, when do you New Zealanders stop winning? You won everything. You won the rugby and the sailing and the America's Cup, and now you?
I guess it's a great country.
It's a great country for little people. Your dad, just tell us a bit about you. Your dad got you into this from a very early age, didn't he?
Yeah, growing up, my dad, he's named after Jack Dempsey, and my dad's name is Dempsey. At the age of 3 or 4, introduced me and my brother to boxing, and as young boys, you know, all the kids at Christmas and birthdays got normal toys. We got, you know, boxing gloves and a little punching bag. He came to Australia for holiday and came and brought us these gifts, and I think at the young age we found a love and a passion for the sport, and I guess it's I have to thank him for introducing me to boxing, otherwise I wouldn't be, you know, where I am today. I wouldn't be champion of the world.
Did you want to play for the All Blacks?
No, I love rugby, but I guess boxing stole my heart, and I have a great team now. I have Kevin Barry as my trainer, I have my parents and Duke events who, you know, promote me, so I think it's you know, with the talent and with the sport I've been getting, I'm able to achieve what I've achieved today.
You're just a 22-year-old and you're sitting there...
25, sorry.
Yeah.
I've grown up a bit more now.
22 years of age, you're sitting there and you've heard all these stories today about Ali and Frazier and Holyfield and Tyson. You've seen the pictures and you've got this burning ambition yourself. How do you feel when you hear all those stories?
Hearing the stories gives me extra motivation. It's just, for me, it's a humbling feeling sitting here with legends and guys who've been in the sport for a long time, and it's for me it's a privilege to be up here, and it just gives me extra motivation, inspiration to go out there, train harder, and keep working hard and try my best to unify the belt.
Good on you. How do you see Sunday? What do you think about Sunday?
I'm here to support Jeff. I love Pacquiao. I grew up watching Pacquiao. I'm here to support Jeff. Jeff's my boy and my stable man, so I want him to do well.
Well, to our last man here, it's a galaxy, isn't it, of royalty. Timothy Bradley held the WBC light welterweight title twice between 2008 and 2011. Still active, 33 wins and only 2 losses, both of them to Manny Pacquiao. So just, Timothy, lovely to have you here because you can give us a glimpse, a bit of an insight into fighting Pacquiao. What sort of fighter is he?
So you want a little glimpse of what it's like to be in the ring with Manny Pacquiao?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You know, yeah, that's pretty funny. It's kind of hard to explain how being in the ring with Pacquiao, because, you know, at first you watch him on film, but then when you actually get in there and actually fight him, he's actually faster than you saw on film. His footwork is a lot quicker. He's a lot smarter than you saw him on the film. He's very deceiving, I would say, very deceiving. But unbelievable person, like Bob was saying. I've met a lot of fighters. Most fighters are very respectful, but Manny Pacquiao's on a whole different level of friendliness. And you know, he just said right now, he's like, hey, when I go to LA, hey, come down. You know, let's meet in LA. So very nice guy, sincere guy. But he is definitely he is a what name I'm looking for him? He's beatable. Listen, hey, you know what? Listen, I'm just gonna say this real quick. With Jeff Horn, you know, good luck to Jeff Horn in this camp, and everybody here, all the fans here. You know, I think that Jeff's gonna do something special on Sunday with all the hard work he's done and all the preparation, with all the fans around here in Brisbane supporting him and all of his attributes. I think he has a good shot in beating Manny Pacquiao on Sunday. And he's gonna need, yes, absolutely. So good luck to him and his team. And but he's gonna see, you know, Manny Pacquiao, who's a legend. He's a legend, and he's a legend for a reason. And even at the age of 38, he still has all of his wits and all of his attributes as well. So just be prepared, Jeff. I know you are. I know you're ready. I hear the confidence in your voice. I don't know where you are right now, but I hear the confidence in your voice, and I have been watching your interviews. And stay confident.
Well done, Timothy. Well done. Well, what about this? I mean, there we are. How much would you pay to hear all of these people on the one stage? Would you please thank them all for magnificent insight into this sport? Yes, indeed. Fabulous stuff. And we thank them all and let them go back to their amazing stuff.
Jeff for over 11 years actually, since he first walked in as a fairly geeky 18-year-old that had been bullied, and now I've turned, you know, he's now what you'll see on Sunday. He's an amazing man.
He came to you wanting to defend himself, didn't he?
That's it, he was just looking for some confidence. He just wanted to be able to protect himself, like thousands that have come to me over more than 4 decades from bullies that picked on him, and you know, he's transformed.
He's now undefeated. Shh. It's a good story, so that you've got some understanding of what we're going to go to on Sunday. He's undefeated in 17 professional bouts. What does he do correctly more than anything else?
I think one of the biggest things about Jeff is he just has to win. He has to win. It doesn't matter whether it's poker, tiddlywinks, table tennis, or even putt-putt golf. You know, he's got to win. So it's that fierce competitiveness that Jeff has. And of course we've had the hands of stone, and when you see on Sunday, you'll see the jaw of stone. Jeff is just unstoppable. He is unstoppable.
I mean, people, a lot of us here are just enthusiasts, and we don't really know a lot about the sport. But people that I've interviewed in the last week have made 2 points about the two boxers. One is that Manny Pacquiao is not a powerful puncher, but Jeff is. Pacquiao will try to wear you down, but Jeff Horn won't run away. He'll be in close to Pacquiao's body. Is there a risk in that, or is that his strength?
There's always a risk in boxing. It's a very volatile sport. I think it's what makes it one of the most exciting, or if not the most exciting sport in the world, is in 1 second everything can change. So yes, it's very volatile, but Jeff does something beautifully. He integrates his attack really well with his defence. He's got a terrific eye as well. He just feels punches coming. He's almost in a trance-like state out there. It's a very hypnotic state. And he does that beautifully out there. He really does tune in, drops into the zone, and as I say, he's just so determined, and he combines that with this massive heart that's as big as Suncorp Stadium, and certainly great technical skill.
If I just say to you all what I said before, I mean, I've coached 1 million footballers, and there are 1 or 2 who have lying down in the dressing room 10 minutes before we play the All Blacks. And they have, Mark Ella was one, an absolute inner calm about them. Never believed, that was just the DNA, that they could lose. When I talk to this young fella, that's exactly the sort of bloke he is. There's no trash talk, he's not boastful, that's just him, isn't it?
That's right, Jeff believes like you wouldn't believe, okay, so to speak. And that's something that's taken over 11 years of tempering both his body and his mind. And I've worked so hard with Jeff to really get him to believe in his skills and the process and the science and the psychology that we follow. And he's invested in that now. He's come on board. It was tough leading into the Olympics, but slowly we got on top of that. And now he has just got incredible belief.
Okay, just finally then, as the trainer, you'll talk to him, you'll give your instructions, but as he said to me today, he's also got to read what's happening in the ring. He can't go in there with some preconceived notion if circumstances change in the ring. How has the fight got to play out on Sunday for Jeff to win?
Well, we have a very simple plan. We intend to get in front, we intend to stay in front, and we intend to take Manny Pacquiao. And don't get me wrong, we think the world of Manny Pacquiao. We think he's been brilliant for sport, he's a wonderful person, he does amazing humanitarian things. So we're not disrespectful, but this, at the end of the day, is a contest, and we intend to win. So our plan is very simple. We will get in front and we will stay in front the whole way. We intend to take Manny Pacquiao into very deep territory. We think this is going to be a war come Sunday, and in the latter rounds, a young man, they've always said, a big young man will beat, of course, a good smaller man, and he is a bigger man, he's a stronger man, he's a younger man. At the end of the day, we're not going to be hit by a right legend or a left experience or any of the record. It's just two men, two warriors, two spirits, and no one has a stronger spirit than Jeff Horn. And I know the crowd of over 50,000 people will take Jeff to dizzy heights. You know, he thrives on that energy, and please, let's get the Horner chant going come Sunday, and that will bring Jeff home. I just know it will. I've felt this fight 1,000 times in my mind. At the end of that fight, Jeff Horn will have his hand in the air.
Well done, Glenn. Well done. What a good man. There he is. He's the man who's put him there where he is. Well, isn't it exciting stuff? It really is. I think we've all said the same thing. I mean, you look at the pictures here. This is a most impressive young man, isn't he? I mean, they just don't come along all the time. And he's not been overwhelmed by all of this. He speaks modestly, he speaks quietly, he doesn't boast, there's no trash talk. And yet there's an inner belief that he can prevail. And what would we know about it? Not much, but I think the bookies might have it all wrong. I just want to thank again, though, the amazing sponsors. I don't know whether Kate is still here. The Queensland Government, thank you, Kate. Fantastic what you've done. And equally, Graham, the Brisbane City Council, thank you so much for what you've done. These people said it can happen, we'll make it happen, and they have. And we can't thank these people enough. Oxmart Properties, Mac Trucks, UBED, Aqua Hotels, Zoo Sport, Sportsnet Travel, Madison Sport, QMS Sport Main Event, and of course Dean Lonergan. Where are you, Dean? I mean, what a job you and your team have done, you and your son, and Jimmy Bannigan up there. You were there at the beginning of all of this when people thought, can it happen, will it happen? I remember when we launched this thing at Suncorp Stadium and people said, will we get 50,000? And there we are. It's not only 50,000, but as Bob Arum said to you, it's going all over the world, going to Europe, going to Asia, going to America. It's a fantastic moment for this young man, Jeff Horn. Tremendous moment for Brisbane. You've got some sweets in front of you. Enjoy that and some coffee. We'll be back in a few minutes to wrap it all up. Don't forget the silent auctions up there. You've got the details of that on your table. Those are 4 magnificent pieces. Thank you. What about those people, though? Can you another round of applause for the royalty that we heard here? They were just unbelievable, weren't they? Memorable stories.